Cheating wife humiliated in front of family, her reaction was insane. Hey, Reddit. I never thought I'd be the guy posting here, but life has a way of hitting you with a baseball bat when you least expect it. I guess I just need to get this off my chest and maybe get some outside perspective because my head is spinning. So, my wife, Emily, and I have been married for 6 years. It wasn't always perfect, but I thought we had something solid, until recently. Over the past few months, something's been off. You know that gut feeling you get when something just isn't right? Yeah, I've had that a lot lately. At first, it was little things. She started going out more, dressing up when she used to live in sweatpants, laughing at her phone but never telling me what was so funny. When I asked, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Oh, can't a girl have some privacy?" Which, I mean, yeah, but it was different. We used to share everything. Now she was suddenly guarding her phone like it was the launch codes for a nuclear bomb. Then there were the lies, small at first, almost innocent. I had to work late, but her boss posted pictures of the office happy hour that she conveniently wasn't in. Just a girls' night, but when I casually asked her friend about it, she gave me a look like I'd just asked if the sky was green. I told myself I was overthinking. Paranoia isn't attractive, right? But the doubt kept creeping in. And, well, turns out my gut wasn't lying. I just didn't expect what came next. So, things kept getting weirder, but I still didn't have solid proof. Just suspicions, gut feelings, and a wife who suddenly acted like I was the most annoying person on the planet for simply existing. Then one night, she was in the shower, and her phone lit up on the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't even think about checking, but something about the way she had been guarding it lately made me hesitate. It wasn't just privacy, it was like she was hiding something. I didn't even have to unlock it. A text popped up on the screen from a name I didn't recognize, Zach. It read, "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." My heart stopped. I stared at it, waiting for it to vanish like maybe I had imagined it. But nope. It was real. My mind went blank. Hands shaking, I swiped down to see more. There were several messages from him. Stuff like, "When can I see you again?" and "Miss your touch." I don't know how long I stood there, phone in my hand, blood pounding in my ears. Part of me wanted to throw it across the room. Part of me wanted to scroll further, open the messages, read every single dirty word. But I didn't get the chance, because the shower turned off. Panic set in. I put the phone back exactly how it was and walked out of the room like nothing happened. I felt sick. My wife was cheating on me. I didn't have all the details yet, but I had enough. And I had no idea what the hell to do next. I sat on the couch, staring at the TV but not watching a damn thing. My mind was racing. My wife, my Emily, was cheating on me. And I had proof. A few minutes later, she walked into the living room in her robe, towel drying her hair like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just gotten a message from some guy telling her how amazing last night was. I couldn't help myself. I looked at her and said, "Who's Zach?" Her reaction was immediate, too immediate. She didn't pause, didn't think. She just scoffed and rolled her eyes like I had asked the dumbest question in the world. "Seriously," she said, shaking her head. "Are you going through my phone now? Jesus, you're being paranoid." Classic. Flip it on me, make me the bad guy. I wasn't playing along. "I didn't go through your phone," I shot back. "Your screen lit up. The guy texted you." I saw it. That's when I saw the first crack in her armor. For a split second, she froze, eyes darting away before she recovered. But I caught it. "Oh my God, you're ridiculous," she laughed, but it was forced. "Zach is just a coworker. We went out for drinks with the team last night, and he probably had too much. He's like that with everyone." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But my gut wasn't buying it. "So if I check your phone right now, I'll see just friendly coworker messages." And that's when the real bullshit started. Her face hardened. "I can't believe this. You don't trust me. After everything? I work my ass off, and you're sitting here accusing me of cheating? Maybe if you paid more attention to me instead of snooping around like a jealous psycho, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I just stared at her. Was she serious? My brain was screaming at me. This wasn't just lying, this was deflecting. Gaslighting. Turning the blame on me. But I didn't have the full picture yet. And unfortunately, I was about to get it in the worst way possible. I didn't say anything else that night. What was the point? She had made it clear she wasn't going to admit anything, and I wasn't about to get into a screaming match with someone who had already decided I was the problem. But I wasn't stupid. I knew she was lying. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started paying attention. Over the next week, I watched her. Not in some creepy, stalker way, but I started noticing the patterns I had been ignoring. The way she always had work events on Fridays. The way she'd leave the house in the morning looking way too put together for a job that didn't require it. The way she'd rush to silence her phone whenever I was in the room. Then, on Friday night, she pulled her usual "I have to stay late at the office" excuse. Except this time, I followed her. I didn't have a plan. I just wanted to see where she actually went. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe she really was just working late. Maybe Zach was just some dumb coworker with no boundaries. But she wasn't at the office. I trailed her car from a safe distance, heart pounding, hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. She drove across town and pulled into the parking lot of a hotel. Not some big business conference kind of place. No, this was one of those sketchy highway motels with hourly rates and bad lighting. I parked down the street, just out of sight, and watched as she got out of her car. She wasn't wearing her usual work clothes anymore. She had changed, tight dress, heels, makeup done like she was about to go on a date. And then he showed up. Zach. Some tall, smug-looking guy in a button-down and jeans, walking up to her like he owned her. She smiled at him in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. Then she kissed him. And I felt something inside me break. I sat there in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard I thought it might snap in half. My stomach was in knots, my heart pounding in my ears. I had been hoping, praying, that maybe I was wrong. That maybe she'd just meet a friend, have a drink, and go home. That maybe I was being paranoid. But there she was, kissing another man like I didn't exist. I felt frozen, my mind cycling through every possible reaction. Do I get out of the car and confront them right there? Do I walk into that motel lobby, and answer the world what's going on? Or do I just sit there, watch, and let the truth sink in? Before I could decide, they walked inside together, hand in hand, disappearing into the motel. And that was it. Proof. Undeniable. A sick, twisted part of me almost wanted to laugh. After all the gaslighting, all that "you're crazy" and "you don't trust me" bullshit, here she was, proving me right in the worst way possible. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the door they had vanished through, my breath coming in shallow gasps. I wanted to storm in, demand an explanation, make a scene. But deep down, I knew how that would go. She'd lie. She'd twist things. She'd make me the bad guy. So instead, I pulled out my phone. And I took pictures. I snapped shots of her car in the parking lot. Of Zach's car. Of them walking inside together. Then I drove home, my mind completely numb. I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. But one thing was for damn sure, Emily wasn't going to talk her way out of this one. The drive home was a blur. My hands felt numb on the steering wheel, my chest tight like I couldn't get a full breath. I kept replaying the moment she kissed him over and over in my head, like some sick movie I couldn't turn off. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I felt empty. Not angry. Not sad. Just hollow. I sat there in the car for a long time, staring at our house. Our house. The one we bought together, where we had planned to build a future. And all I could think was, how long has she been bringing him here? I walked inside and just stood there in the living room, looking around like I was seeing it for the first time. The framed wedding photos on the wall, the cozy throw blanket she always wrapped herself in, the stupid scented candles she insisted on lighting every night. It all felt like a joke now. I checked my phone. No messages from her. Of course not. She wasn't thinking about me. She was too busy with him. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for her like some clueless husband anymore. No, this time, I was taking control. I had a plan. And it started with letting her dig her own grave. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with him. Laughing. Kissing. Walking into that motel like I didn't exist. By 3 a.m., I was done just sitting there. If she wanted to lie, if she wanted to play games, fine. I'd let her. But I wasn't going to be the clueless idiot anymore. So, I got up and started planning. First, I transferred every single piece of proof I had, pictures, screenshots, timestamps, onto a secure folder in the cloud. If she tried to twist things later, I'd have receipts. Then, I started checking our finances. She wasn't just cheating, she was funding it. A quick look at our joint account showed suspicious charges, hotel stays, dinners at restaurants I had never been to, gas stations nowhere near her office. I took screenshots of everything. By the time the sun came up, I was ready. She strolled in around 7 a.m. like nothing had happened, hair a little messier than usual, makeup slightly smudged. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee, watching her. "Morning," she said casually, heading straight for the coffee maker. No guilt. No hesitation. Like she hadn't just spent the night with another man. Long night at the office? I asked, keeping my voice calm. She barely looked at me. Yeah, so exhausting. We had to stay late for a last-minute project. Lie. I just nodded, taking another sip of coffee. Letting the silence stretch. Watching her squirm. She turned around and gave me a fake smile. You okay? You look tired. Didn't sleep much, I said honestly. Had a lot on my mind. She had the audacity to sigh, rubbing her temple like I was the one causing problems. Babe, we've talked about this. You overthink things too much. Overthink. Overthink. I had the proof sitting on my phone, and she was still lying to my face. Fine. Let her. Because the next step of my plan? It was already in motion. I knew that if I confronted her now, she'd go straight into damage control mode, lie, gaslight, maybe even cry to flip it back on me. No, I needed her to feel safe. I needed her to keep digging her own grave. So, I played along. That morning, as she sat across from me at the kitchen table, sipping her coffee like she wasn't a lying cheater, I let out a deep sigh and rubbed my face. You're right, I said, shaking my head. I think I have been overthinking things. Stress at work, you being busy. I guess I let my insecurities get to me. She looked at me, cautious at first, then smug. See? That's what I've been trying to tell you. You need to relax. Relax. Right. I forced a tired smile. Yeah. I'm sorry, Em. And just like that, she bought it. By the end of breakfast, she was acting like her normal self again, chatty, affectionate, even teasing me like she hadn't just spent the night with another man. It was sickening, but I played along. Over the next few days, I acted like the clueless husband she thought I was. I asked about her work when she went out. I kissed her goodbye in the mornings, told her to have fun on girls' nights that I knew damn well were spent in some cheap motel with Zach. And every time she left, I gathered more proof. I checked our phone records. Dozens of late-night calls to a number I didn't recognize. I looked up his name in the work directory, he wasn't even listed. So much for being a co-worker, huh? Then, one night while she was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I unlocked her laptop. Bingo. Messages. Photos. Emails. Explicit. Disgusting. All confirming what I already knew. But I didn't react. Not yet. Because I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to destroy her. After finding those messages on her laptop, something inside me shifted. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry, not in the way I had been before. I felt cold. Calculated. This wasn't just about catching her in the act. This was about making sure she didn't walk away from this thinking she got away with it. First, I contacted a lawyer. I didn't tell him everything yet, just asked about my options. Turns out, since we lived in a state where adultery could factor into divorce settlements, her little hobby might cost her more than just my trust. Next, I opened my own bank account. Moved my direct deposits over. Started keeping my money separate, just in case she decided to screw me over financially, too. Then, I backed up everything. Every text, every email, every sneaky little hotel receipt she had so carelessly left behind in her email trash folder. I saved it all to a secure drive and even printed hard copies. But I wasn't done. If she wanted to humiliate me, I was going to return the favor. I started compiling a little gift for her. A folder. A neat, organized package of everything I had found, messages, photos, phone records, even a few mutual friends who had unknowingly confirmed details for me when I casually asked about her work events. And the best part? I had a plan for how she'd receive it. Because I wasn't going to be the only one seeing this. Oh no. She was going to be exposed. Publicly. Brutally. And there wasn't a damn thing she could do about it. At this point, I had everything I needed, proof, legal advice, and a plan. But I didn't want to just confront her privately. No, that would be too easy for her. She'd cry, make excuses, try to turn it on me. I wanted her caught. Cornered. No escape. So, I waited for the right moment. And it came faster than I expected. One evening, she casually mentioned that she was going on a girls' trip next weekend. 2 nights away, just her and her friends. I played dumb. Smiled. Told her I hoped she had fun. Then I checked her emails. Sure enough, there was no girls' trip. Just a hotel confirmation, 2 guests, 1 king bed. And the name on the reservation. Zach. Perfect. I called one of our mutual friends, Sarah, someone who had known Emily for years. She was one of the few people I trusted to be on my side when this all went down. I told her everything. She was shocked, but also furious for me. Then I reached out to Emily's parents. Yep. I was going all in. I played it carefully, told them I needed to talk to them about something important, and arranged for a dinner at our place the night before her trip. She had no idea what was coming. Because that night, when everyone was gathered at the dinner table, Emily, her parents, Sarah, and me, I was going to drop the truth on her like a nuclear bomb. And I was going to enjoy every second of it. The night of the dinner, I felt strangely calm. Focused. It was like all the emotions had burned out, leaving just one clear goal: expose her. Emily, of course, was completely oblivious. She was in a good mood, laughing, pouring wine for her parents, chatting with Sarah. She had no idea she was about to lose everything. We made it through appetizers without incident. I let the conversation flow, played the part of the normal, doting husband. But when we sat down for the main course, I cleared my throat and said, "Actually, there's something I wanted to talk about." Emily barely glanced up from her plate. "What is it?" I took a deep breath, then slid the folder onto the table. The folder containing everything: screenshots, messages, photos, hotel reservations. "Emily," I said evenly, "who exactly are you going on this girls' trip with?" She froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips. Her eyes flicked to the folder, then to me. "What the hell is this?" she said, forcing a laugh. Her mom glanced between us, already sensing something was off. Sweetie. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. Go ahead. Open it. She hesitated. Then, slowly, she reached out and flipped the folder open. The moment her eyes landed on the contents, I saw it, the color draining from her face, the muscles in her throat tightening as she swallowed hard. Her father picked up one of the printed messages and frowned. What is this, Emily? Her mother gasped. Sarah muttered, Oh my God. And Emily. She did exactly what I expected. She snapped the folder shut and shot me a glare. You went through my stuff. There it was. The classic deflect and attack strategy. I just smiled. You're cheating on me. With Zach. I have the proof right there. So why don't you stop acting like the victim and start explaining? Silence. For the first time in this whole mess, Emily looked scared. Like a trapped animal. Her parents were staring at her, waiting for an answer. Sarah was shaking her head in disbelief. And me? I was just getting started. Emily sat there, her face pale, eyes darting between the folder and her parents. I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to find a way out. Then, she did exactly what I knew she would. She scoffed, shook her head, and let out a bitter laugh. Are you serious right now? You're actually trying to ambush me like this? Her mom still looked stunned. Emily, just tell us the truth. Emily slammed the folder shut. This is ridiculous. He's twisting things. He's been paranoid for months, and now he's making up some insane story just to humiliate me. Sarah shot her a disgusted look. Emily, it's literally right there. Your messages. Your hotel reservations. What part of this is twisted? Emily's dad, usually a quiet, reserved man, put the paper down and looked straight at her. Tell me this is all a mistake, Emily. Emily's lip trembled, but instead of admitting anything, she doubled down. It's not what it looks like. I laughed. I actually laughed. Oh, that's rich. It's exactly what it looks like. She turned to me, her eyes flashing. You went behind my back. Snooped through my phone, my emails. That's insane. Do you know how creepy that is? There it was, the classic distract and attack move. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. You don't get to play the victim here, Emily. I didn't lie. I didn't sneak around. I didn't cheat. You did. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I don't have to sit here and be interrogated like a criminal. If you don't trust me, then maybe we shouldn't be together. Bingo. There it was. The moment where she tried to flip it and take control of the situation. But she was too late. Her mother looked horrified. Emily, don't you dare try to turn this around. Sarah let out a disgusted scoff. Wow. Just wow. Her father, silent until now, just shook his head. I'm disappointed in you. Emily's whole body stiffened. That one hit her. For a second, I thought she might actually admit it. That she'd finally crack and tell the truth. But nope. Instead, she turned to me, her face twisted in anger. You think you've won? You think humiliating me in front of my parents is some kind of victory? I just smiled. Oh, Emily. I haven't even started yet. Emily stood there, fists clenched, her face red with fury. She was cornered, and she knew it. But instead of apologizing or even admitting the truth, she just kept digging herself deeper. You're pathetic, she spat at me. You had to turn my parents against me just because you couldn't handle your own insecurities. That's sick. Her mom gasped. Emily, stop this. But I just chuckled, shaking my head. My insecurities. That's funny. You know what's actually pathetic? Lying to my face for months. Sneaking around like a coward. And now, even with all the proof in front of you, you still won't own up to it. That's pathetic. Sarah, who had been sitting in stunned silence, finally spoke up. You know, I actually feel bad for you, Emily. You had a good man, and you threw it away for some guy who doesn't even have the balls to show his face. Emily's jaw clenched. I could see her mentally scrambling, but she was out of moves. Then I pulled out my phone. Since you refuse to be honest, let me help you. I unlocked the screen and tapped on my messages. I sent all of this to Zach's wife. Silence. Her face went sheet white. You, she choked on her words, eyes wide with horror. You told his wife. I nodded. Yep. Figured she deserved to know just as much as I did. Her hands were shaking now. You had no right. No right. I snapped. Oh, but you had the right to screw around behind my back. To lie, to manipulate, to gaslight me for months? Nah, Emily, I had every damn right. Her mom looked at her like she was seeing her for the first time. My God, Emily, what have you done? That was when she broke. Fine, she screamed, throwing her hands in the air. You want the truth? Yes, I cheated. Are you happy now? Is that what you wanted to hear? Her dad let out a heavy sigh, shaking his head. Sarah whispered, wow, under her breath. I just stared at her. No, Emily. I wanted you to not cheat in the first place. But since we're past that, all I want now is for you to get out. Her head snapped up. What? You heard me. We're done. Get out. She laughed bitterly, but I could see the panic behind her eyes. You can't just kick me out of my own house. I leaned forward, smiling coldly. Actually, I can. Because I already talked to a lawyer. I've been gathering proof for weeks. You want to fight this? Go ahead. But I promise you, it won't end well for you. Her face twisted in rage. You're **ing bastard. And you're a cheater, I said calmly. So pack your bags. She looked at her parents, at Sarah, at anyone who might back her up. But all she got was silence. She had lost. And she knew it. Emily stood there, breathing heavily, looking from me to her parents to Sarah, searching for some kind of lifeline. But there wasn't one. Not this time. Her mother wiped away a tear, shaking her head. I can't believe you, Emily. I raised you better than this. Her father's disappointment was even worse. He just stood up, quietly grabbing his coat. I don't even know who you are anymore. Then, to me, he said, I'm sorry, son. You deserved better. And just like that, her own parents walked out. Sarah? She didn't bother saying anything else. She just gave Emily a look, one that spoke volumes, before following them out the door. That left just the two of us. She was seething, jaw clenched so tight I thought she might crack a tooth. You're really doing this, she hissed. I stayed perfectly calm. Yeah. I really am. She let out a bitter laugh, crossing her arms. You're throwing away 6 years of marriage over one mistake. That almost made me snap. One mistake. I scoffed. Emily, you didn't slip up. You planned this. You lied for months. You gaslit me, you insulted me, and you carried on a full-blown affair. So don't stand there and act like this was some tiny accident. She swallowed hard, looking like she wanted to argue, but she had nothing left to say. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to stay level-headed. Your things will be packed by tomorrow. You can come get them then. But tonight, you're leaving. Her eyes narrowed. Where the hell am I supposed to go? I smirked. Why don't you call Zach? Oh, wait, his wife knows now. So, maybe he's not feeling so generous anymore. Her face darkened. I walked to the front door, opened it, and gestured. Out. She hesitated for half a second, then grabbed her purse, glaring at me like she wished she could set me on fire with her mind. You'll regret this. I just smiled. No, Emily. The only one regretting anything here is you." And with that, she stormed out. I shut the door, locked it, and just stood there for a moment. For the first time in months, the house felt peaceful. Empty. But peaceful. The silence after she left was deafening. I stood there in the middle of the living room, staring at the door, letting it all sink in. She was gone. And just like that, 6 years of marriage ended. I should have felt sad. Maybe I did, somewhere deep down. But mostly, I just felt relieved. Like I could finally breathe again after months of suffocating under her lies. I spent the next few days tying up loose ends. Changed the locks, took her name off our shared accounts, and finalized everything with my lawyer. Since I had all the proof, she didn't even try to fight me in the divorce. She knew she'd lose. Sarah stayed in touch, checking in on me, making sure I was okay. Even Emily's parents reached out, apologizing for what their daughter had done, as if it was their fault. It wasn't. Emily made her own choices. As for Zach, well, his wife took the proof I sent her and filed for divorce, too. Guess Emily wasn't the only one losing everything. A few weeks later, I heard through the grapevine that Emily was miserable. Apparently, Zach hadn't been so eager to play house with her once his own life fell apart. I won't lie, knowing she was suffering gave me a little satisfaction. But I wasn't going to waste any more energy on her. She was my past. And my future? That was wide open. If I learned anything from this mess, it's that sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who will betray you in ways you never saw coming. But I also learned that walking away from toxic people isn't weakness. It's strength. So, to anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking you're crazy. And when the truth finally comes out, don't be afraid to let go. Because sometimes, losing someone is the best thing that can happen to you. And with that, I'm closing this chapter of my life for good. On to better things.